Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're coming to day 6 of Trad Tunes at lunchtime. As always, it's lunchtime here in Culfadda, in County Sligo, where we've been enjoying the beautiful weather, mostly from the inside, but it's certainly a delight to see the blue sky and the sun outside. And hope you're all doing well wherever you are. So we're back, as I said, for day 6 of this lovely series, and thank you very much to the people that have been sending in tune requests over the last few days. Yesterday we featured a very well-known tune called The Mountain Road, and it's a tune that has big links to this area here, because the mountain road itself is a road that starts in Tubbercurry, which we are about 20 minutes away from Tubbercurry here, 20 minutes north of Tubbercurry. And the tune was written by a musician who came from this very area, a fiddle player, great fiddle player called Michael Gorman. And I forgot to mention actually yesterday that there's been a great recording of an album, a CD of Michael Gorman's music that was recently put together just a few months ago and released by Lamont Gillespie, who is a terrific fiddle player from the London area. I think he's living up in Scotland for quite a few years now, in the Glasgow area, but he put together a wonderful collection of Michael's music, which is fantastic. I have it here in the house. And before that, a very well-known researcher of music and piano player himself, Reg Hall from London, put together a double CD of Michael's music maybe about 15 years ago or more, it could be 20 years now, called the Sligo Champion, and that's another great collection of Michael Gorman's music. And thanks to everybody who commented. There's some great comments from people associated from Breach, his granddaughter, who I mentioned yesterday. She wrote in on the page, so thanks for all the messages. It is lovely to get the messages when you're playing to a phone here in the house, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. Today I'm going to feature a tune that was composed by another fiddle player, another great fiddle player. So like we were saying yesterday, so many great fiddlers from this area here ended up in America over the years. And a lady, a great friend of ours, Betty Dowling, who comes from the Gurchin area and has been living in Atlanta now, Atlanta, Georgia. A lovely spot, and we frequently meet Betty over there, and her daughter Teresa and her grandson Patrick, who's a fantastic fiddle player. So I'm going to play this tune that Betty requested yesterday. So I believe it's probably early enough over in Atlanta, but I can see Stephen tuning in again from St. Joseph in Missouri. I see Francis tuning in from Germany, and people from North Carolina saying hello. Thanks very much for watching. So this tune anyway is a reel called the Culfadda reel, and that's a Sligo name for anyone who knows their Sligo geography. Culfadda is a small little village. It's not all that far from here, from where we're based. It's in South Sligo, and so this is probably a tune that Betty would have great associations with, coming from herself. And it was composed by a really fine fiddle player who was born in Boyle, County Roscommon, I believe probably in the very early 20th century, maybe around 1905 or thereabouts. 1908 I think is probably the year that he was born, and his name was Larry Redican, and his family moved to Dublin when he was young, and he eventually made it over to America and lived the rest of his life there. I think he emigrated to America around the late 1920s. So he was a really great fiddle player, and he was another one of those fiddle players that took their hand to writing tunes. And my goodness, we're so blessed to have so many great composers of tunes in this tradition that we all enjoy. A lot of the tunes that we play, we don't know who composed them, and that's sad, I suppose. There's a little bit of history that's been lost. But thankfully, there are quite a few tunes, and more so, people are focusing in on who wrote them. And this tune was written. Saying hello there from Darren Morley, great fiddle player in County Mayo. This tune was written by Larry, and he's written many tunes which have been very popularised. Initially maybe they became very famous in the New York area, and then made their way back here. And this tune is called the Culfadda Reel, and Larry was a very big figure in Irish music in New York, and was very, very well recognised by musicians here in Ireland as well. I believe he had a good friendship with Paddy O'Brien, the wonderful accordion player from Tipperary, who spent quite a bit of time in America as well, and he would have been a very good friend of Andy McGann's, another terrific fiddle player with roots from the South Sligo area as well. And if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about Larry Redican, I would encourage you to go to YouTube, because his son, Larry Redican Jr., has been very good to, over the last 10 years or so, he's put quite a lot of recordings of Larry and bits of information and photographs as well, lovely old photographs of that time, of that great New York music scene of the 60s and 70s. And he's, I think Larry passed away in 1975, so that was the era that he was in New York from the late 20s, touching on the time of the Colemans and Morrisons, and Killorn, Paddy Killorn. And he lived up until 1975, and his son, as I said, Larry Jr., has put great recordings and information up online, predominantly on YouTube, I believe. So check them out and hear the man himself playing a lot of these wonderful tunes, and you can see photos of the other musicians that were there at the time. And the other little bit of the story, and I'm going to play the tune now after this, but the other bit of the story which is fascinating is that Larry himself, as I said, passed away in 1975, but he passed away by all accounts just after playing a rousing selection of reels on the stage in the Irish Centre in Mineola, which is just outside New York City. I was there in 1998 on the Colton's tour. I haven't been back in that part of the New York area since, but I think it's out in the Long Island direction. So anyhow, that's he passed away just after playing. So there you go, an interesting story. So I'm going to play the Culfadda Reel, and then I'll play it a little bit slower in a couple of minutes before we finish up. That was the Culfadda Reel, composed by Larry Redican, and he composed it in the key of F, which is a lovely key to play it on the fiddle and accordion and quite a few other instruments. But it has been played in the key of G as well, which is, I suppose, a little bit more friendly for flutes and other instruments. So that's the Culfadda reel. As I said, it's a small little place in County Sligo and composed by a fiddle player, Larry Redican, who was born in Boyle and lived in Dublin, grew up in Dublin, and then lived in America from the late 20s up until his passing in 1975. And there are lots of other great Larry Redican tunes out there. So I encourage you to look them up. Some of them you might know to hear, but you mightn't realise that they were composed by Larry Redican. That's something that I often find over the years. Tunes that you've grown up with and you assume they've always been there, and then you find out they were written by somebody. So it's great to join the little pieces of the jigsaw together, and I suppose that's what the fun in playing and learning, and because no matter how many years you've been playing, and I've been playing a few years at this stage, there's always so much more to be learning out there, and I wish I could keep it all in the head. You can't, so you've got to keep revisiting all these things. So I'm going to finish off now by playing this tune a little bit slower for anybody who wants to join along with us learning the tune, and then I'll pick up the pace then. So thanks a million, everybody. I see Terry Griffin tuning in there from Sligo, a great former teacher of mine, not a music teacher, but Terry taught me in Summerhill College, English and Irish, a few years ago now, but it's great to stay in touch with Terry. So and Mark tuning in there, and Raphael, thank you everybody. Again, it's lovely to see people tuning in, and of course I hope that you're enjoying some of the tunes that we're coming through, encountering during these few weeks. Like I said at the beginning, we're not sure how long this series will be going on for, but it looks like we'll be with you for a little while yet, and we'll enjoy it while we can. So we'll finish off by playing Larry Redican's composition, the Culfadda reel. And before we finish, I have to thank Betty again for the tune suggestion. It was a lovely excuse to dig up this tune again. Thank you, Betty. See you tomorrow. Thanks a million, everybody.